I'm still here, or has my headset died?
You're still here.
Intro time! And that's the intro, which means it must be that time again. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the misadventures of the USS Navis. How are we all doing?
We're all going to die down here.
So we'll take
Right.
Tannenbaum with us.
Yeah, you might.
Right then, let me just start something off in the background here. Let's put us back on with Sirenscape if it'll let me. Just so you guys have got something. Because those magnificent men in Australia, I say men, it's magnificent
They're
guys.
flying machines.
Magnificent guys in Australia, Ben and the other guys at Sirenscape, I've finally released a web-based player. So I've given you guys the link, and hopefully now you're getting Sirenscape sounds through your browsers.
Yep.
Awesome. And due to that, it means that I don't have to have as many audio-related apps running. So rather than using those fantastic 8-hour Star Trek ambience videos from YouTube, I am now playing the ship ambience through Foundry. So we got it coming in two places, but two very local places. So, first things first, everybody looks like they're in. Can everybody see the Nightingale engine room?
Yep. And David and Vibers is yelling at the work call. Why aren't you as good as my one?
This only goes to 11!
What was that, Sean? I didn't catch that.
He's too busy singing into his family.
I've given you a replacement icon a couple of times. Don't keep it.
Yeah, but we'd all missed the giant thimble of doom.
We've all outvoted you.
Well, where else am I supposed to store my portable antimatter?
Thank you for saying
I'm so
portable
glad-
antimatter.
Yes, I definitely didn't hear something else to start with on that either.
Neither did I. Totally. This is a family-friendly show.
This is a family-friendly show for local people.
We
And yeah.
only do safe for kids activities like blow the crap out of other vessels with our hugely powerful quantum torpedoes.
Gotta love them quantum torpedoes.
We've got the word quantum on them, and quantum is the most sciencey of all science words.
With our hugely overpowerful rod. Oh wait, sorry. Child friendly.
You just had to put it down, didn't you?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Excuse me. Choking on mirth. Alrighty then. So, yeah, we've had a break of a week due to reasons. But we're back now. So, if we cast our minds back to the last time we were here, couple of things of note happened. The USS Navis is still without her captain, which is getting to be really strange now. However, when the crew of the Navis received their next mission, they were given a temporary replacement captain, which turned out to be none other than Captain Akul, the Klingon captain of the only other Klingon ship stationed at Narendra Station. Much to everybody's relief, it seemed, the Klingon captain came aboard. And he gave you your mission, which was apparently another Federation starship, the USS Nightingale, had somehow found itself on the wrong side of the Romulan Neutral Zone. And not long after it crossed the Neutral Zone, it came under attack by a Romulan Warbird and was able to send out a distress signal. So, the orders that you have received are to go with all speed and haste to find out what the situation is with the Nightingale and try and resolve it as best as possible. But you do have a couple of directives which are written on the ship itself, which is where we tend to put the directives. So, your mission directives are: ensure the Romulans have no excuse to declare war on the Federation, save as many of the Nightingale crew as possible, and do not allow Federation technology to fall to the Romulans.
And the top one, Matt? You missed one.
Yeah, the Prime Directive, but, you know.
I know it seems obvious, but Kirk kept on forgetting that one. So.
It's plastered on the list of
I got it
directives so often you
renamed.
forget it's there.
We're
Yeah.
not supposed to refer to it as General Order 1 anymore.
Prime Directive. So, yes, you were able to find the Nightingale and found a Romulan Warbird parked not far from it. The Nightingale was in bad shape and had apparently taken direct hit to its engineering section, which had killed the majority of the engineering crew. Out of a crew of about, I think it was 400 aboard the Nightingale, which is a Nova-class ship, about 200 of them are dead or incapacitated. So, not good. But apparently, the Nightingale managed to get a shot off at the Romulan Warbird and managed to incapacitate the Warbird.
Crew complement is 78 on a Nova class, by the way.
Righty-ho. Well, that means that the people who wrote this adventure got that number wrong.
Or maybe
Depends
it's
how
not
it's fitted.
Or maybe they pack them in like sardines.
or maybe there's more going on here. Maybe it's not a Nova class at all.
It's extra roomy. They got a couple of extra decks bolted onto the back.
We're not supposed to use these as crew transports by just putting people in cryo and leaving them at home.
They're outfitting it with some experimental technology based on an old police box they found in Britain lying around.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our first cross-franchise quote of the night. There will be
It's
more.
it's why they keep coming back.
That
Missed it, well, I had to go get the door.
falling off my ship.
So, you managed to talk the Romulans into allowing you to beam a repair team and a secondary command team on board the Nightingale in order to basically clarify what had happened. Because of the damage to the Nightingale and the fact that the captain of the Nightingale activated a security measure which encrypts the entire central computer, the primary computer, pardon me, it means that the information regarding what actually happened when they crossed the neutral zone border is currently locked up in the main computer, inaccessible. And before you can get to the main computer, a number of other more pressing repairs have to be made to the Nightingale first. So you managed to talk the Romulans around into allowing you to send people over to repair just so that you could clear up what happened. But the Romulans have insisted that they have their own complement of about 5 Centurions that are now following the command team around, whilst Chief Engineer Vibers and his engineering team are busy trying to help fix the ship. So when we left, the situation was that repairs were beginning, and the only commanding officer really left in charge is the rather inexperienced first officer of the Nightingale, so she was all too relieved to have someone of Commander Andrews' experience turn up and take charge. Whilst the engineering team have been busy repairing stuff, the command team have since investigated the navigational array and found that the navigational systems themselves don't appear to be damaged or wrong or anything. And so, Lieutenant Nova was tasked with donning an EVA suit, going to the exterior of the ship and taking a look at the navigational array herself, whereupon she found that some of the isolinear chips within the navigation array had been swapped around, which would cause the malfunction. So it supposes.
I'd like to point out that Nova wasn't volunteered. It's before anyone could say anything. She donned the EVA suit and leaped out of the flipping space door.
She volunteered herself.
It's actually why she was volunteered, because she donned the EVA suit and went out for spacewalk, and then we found out that someone needed to go out anyway.
What I'm hearing is there's going to be a position opening in ops.
Yes, Mr. Latude has that position, Mr. Edwards, not you, Mr. Latude.
I
Yeah, but
didn't
there's
say
now
myself.
There's now a position opening in the
I'm happy in
transport.
communications. I'm just saying in general.
The basic crux of the matter is that the swapping around of the isolinear chips for the navigational array on the exterior of the ship could not have happened by accident. Someone had to have gone to the trouble of going out there and swapping them around and coming back into the ship. Which means there's a saboteur on board of the Nightingale. Not only that, but just when Vibers himself in engineering is trying to get people motivated and getting them working on the repairs, one of the people that he had actually asked to come down in order to effect repairs was gone after he turned around to see where they'd got to. So there's definitely something screwy going on this ship at the moment. So,
Vibers to Andrews. I'm missing a lieutenant. Have you seen him?
I'm assuming this is the operations officer of the.
No, that was a Goomba guy. Wasn't it a Goomba guy?
you're going to have to speak up a bit, Sean. I can't quite hear you.
I thought operations was the Goomba guy.
The Goomba guy. That's a good point, yeah. Let's go to the Nightingale Bridge episode quickly.
Oh, Chow
Yes,
back.
because he was security, but put onto ops because they lost that one.
Yeah.
Claude.
Oh yeah.
Clort.
Yeah, we like Claude.
I'm missing Lieutenant Telek. He seems to have reassigned himself to another issue. Could you let people know to keep an eye out for him? He might be outside his security clearance.
Understood, Commander.
Right. Well, we last left Andrews over here in the navigational area, along with Lieutenant Bravo, head of security, Ensign Natik, also security. Nova was currently outside the ship in an EVA suit. Contrary to the two extra ones we've got down there.
There we go.
I now know why there's 200 to 400 or 400 crew complement, because the navigational array shows that it's a Galaxy class, not a Nova class. Suspicious.
Are you suggesting I didn't have the correct maps necessary to display the interior of a Nova-class ship? Because if you are,
No.
you'd be darn right. What was that? Lost a Lieutenant Vibers has. How embarrassing. Yes, yes indeed.
Probably fell down the sofa.
He had one job. Looking after Lieutenant wasn't it, but still.
So, the situation is, we've got Nova on the exterior of the ship, who may or may not have just said, guys, there's something wrong with the navigational array. You've got Vibers down in engineering, who is busy effecting repairs, asked someone to help with repairs, they're not there anymore. But, we also, of course, have... we don't have all the people on the bridge at this point, because the command lot are currently elsewhere on the navigation, but there are these tasks, these tokens here represent the various extended tasks that need to be completed in order to repair specific systems of the ship in order to get the ship in good working order again. But before we get to any of that stuff, I want to take us on a quick little trip down to the Nightingale sickbay.
Everybody's dead.
I'm going to stop this and I'm going to put the sickbay ambience on. So, when last we visited the Nightingale's sickbay, we found it was pretty much being overrun with crew members who were injured. Some of them badly, some of them not so badly, but badly enough that they had to come down to sickbay. There was a line of folks waiting outside of sickbay to be treated by the nurses who could spare time to go up and down the line to see if they could fix anybody. Those that were unfortunate enough to perish have now been piled in body bags. And the medical staff are starting to work under quite a bit of stress because there aren't as many medical staff as needed to treat this amount of patients. However, Dr. Bertram came onto the scene and started working his efficiency like magic. And even though the primary computer's down, which means that the medical crew have lost access to patient records and stuff like that, the ever efficient Dr. Bertram has come to help alleviate some of the stress on the medical crew and has been doing a damned fine good job of it.
Matt,
Yeah.
quick one. Can you kick Sean from the game? Because he's crashed, but it's obviously he's still showing he's in game.
Okay. Sean has been kicked from the world. I kicked him from the world!
Now
We
he's
kicked him
fallen
off the ship.
Yeah, it's a good job he had an Evo suit on.
How's it looking, Sean?
The official.
I'm still not showing it. Okay,
So the official report will say she had a Evo suit. Anything else is speculative.
I'm really getting worried about Mr. Edwards now. He's just like, kill the crew, kill them all. You're definitely not changing, are you?
This has been a point of debate.
The fact that there was a very long pause before he said anything, then it's fine.
I believe
I
it was less a
believe he was
long pause,
giggling.
more an exasperated sigh.
No, I was just giggling.
They'll never know.
I secretly have a human hand stuck up my sleeve, so when they ask for blood, it stabs into that, and that's what draws the blood.
First I electrify the Jeffrey's tube, then deck.
Really, the only way they could possibly catch me if I was expositing all this into my log entry. Ah, crud.
Changeling's log.
Whoops! Computer, delete quickly. Too late. Ah.
There's a bit on the side. There's a mission on Star Trek Online where you find a journal entry, which basically says that there's a species 8472 was found on DS9, but they've been undercover for that long they forgot that they were a changeling. So they are actively helping the DS9 security team to sort of like provide as much information and support as possible.
Damn Manchurian agents don't know what side they're on.
What do they call the 8472s now in Star Trek Online? They
Undine,
actually give them a
isn't it?
name, isn't it? What was that, sorry?
The Undine, I think.
The Undine, right, that was it.
Yeah.
Cool. I remember they'd actually been given a race name, but I couldn't remember what it was. 8472 is a bit of a mouthful. Which is even more ironic, considering the Undine don't have mouths.
Yeah.
Just
I
brains.
remember the first episode they came up and it burst through the wall and went, "My God, a Star Trek alien isn't a human with a weird nose or ears."
It's like they had budget.
Yeah, an imagination.
Cool.
Or they just stroked out while writing and never corrected it.
Struck out, dear boy. Anyway, pedantry aside, let's take the pause game off. Sean, you still having trouble?
Yeah, it seems like it.
Okay.
Carry
Well,
on, it's fine.
yeah, as long as you can still hear us, that's fine.
Yeah.
So, back in sickbay, and thanks to the efforts of Dr. Bertram and Nurse Bravo, the sickbay crew are now starting to lighten the load on the sickbay crew, and have now pushed a good deal more crew members back out the door to help out with the repairs that are needed to the ship. So, after one of the recent patients is given a clean bill of health and she's able to be put back to her duties, Dr. or Commander Gatrell walks up to Dr. Bertram. Doctor, I cannot thank you enough for your efforts here. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have got as much of a handle on the situation as we perhaps should have.
Pleasure, sir. It's the highest duty of a doctor to make sure that people survive and thrive. I'm glad to have been able to help in some way.
I must say, it is gratifying to find a human who is so efficient in their work.
I appreciate the compliment, sir.
It has been quite an ordeal, and I am glad we had you to help out with it. It's just a shame that I wasn't given the opportunity to conduct the captain's autopsy. I was in such a rush that I had to deal with what I had to deal with here. But then, we don't have any of the scanning equipment, so an autopsy on any of the crew is, at this point, well, I suppose a bit of a moot issue. Although, it seems a bit wrong to have left the captain's cause of death unknown. I should have started it some time ago, but didn't have the chance. I apologize, I've been interrupting you.
So when you say unknown, there wasn't...
I'm afraid we didn't have the chance to look her over. She was dead when she was brought into sickbay, so we had to move her to one side.
See, no obvious signs of death and trauma caused by explosions or impact from the attack?
To be honest, Doctor, I don't remember. We merely determined whether or not she was dead or alive, and when we discovered that she was dead, we had to put her to one side in order to deal with the other patients coming in. I couldn't even tell you what she died of. We can only assume that it was part of the damage sustained by the ship when the Romulans attacked.
Matt, is there still a flood coming in, or have
No,
we basically
it's
got
gone from a flood to a trickle.
And that case, the doctor says, well, perhaps especially given the Romulans insisting on noting every single detail of this situation, we should take this moment of relative quiet to actually perform as best when we can now, if only to dot our I's, cross our T's, as the metaphor says, and make sure that there's no room for them to actually give us complaints or try and wriggle for any more interference.
Indeed. If you wish, Doctor, since you seem so skilled with the use of equipment without the interface of the computer systems, perhaps you should be the one to conduct the autopsy. I will remain here and deal with whatever small cases come in. Your nurse has been exceedingly helpful, and, like you, curiously efficient for a non-Vulcan.
I'm sure that he'll appreciate the compliment as well. I would be very happy to conduct the autopsy. Any emergencies, please do let me know. Obviously, the safety of the living crew is the priority. But
Indeed.
I shall get... if you will just let me know where the body was stored until now, I can retrieve it and begin the work.
The bodies of the majority of the crew, when they can't be moved out of sickbay, have been moved into Cargo Bay 2. The Cargo Bay has been turned into a morgue of sorts, and the environmental controls have been altered so that it provides a colder environment to preserve the bodies.
Enough. Take it one of those bodies will be the captain's.
Indeed.
Fair enough. I shall go there right now and begin post haste.
Okay.
I'll turn to Nurse Bravo. Goes, Nurse Bravo, in case you need me, con me. Otherwise, I'll be back once I perform the autopsy.
Okay. Yep. Whoever wants to play Nurse Bravo can. Bravo just acknowledges the fact that.
Yeah.
Yes, Doctor.
Okay. Enough. I'll nod to him, then I'll nod to the commander. Says.
Got it.
We are Bravo, we confirm.
Damn it, Bravo! You're one of the secondary characters. You're not a primary player character. You're competent. I'll go to the commander and say, I'll go down to the cargo bay.
Very well, Doctor.
And
Right.
as I'm on my way to the cargo bay, I'm going to tap my badge and page Andrews. Goes up. So Dr. Bertram to Commander Andrews.
Go ahead, Doctor.
The situation in sickbay is now under control. We've stemmed the flow of casualties and saved what lives we could. Commander Dutrell is working with Nurse Bravo for the remaining health of the crew. I'm currently on my way to Cargo. Was it Cargo Bay 4, Matt?
2.
2. So I'm currently on my way to Cargo Bay 2 to perform the standard autopsy on the captain.
Andrews would at this point recommend that Dr. Bertram waits for additional personnel so that he's not undertaking it alone.
Says very well. Who do you want me to meet up to go with there?
Just anyone from either the security or command teams would recommend. Things are starting to add up that don't make sense on board the ship.
Okay, do you want me to commandeer someone from the Nightingale or rely specifically on the Navis crew? And if the Navis crew, who can you spare?
Who's in the security bit, man?
Critique, Security Bravo, you, and person who's spacewalking.
I'd say I'm in the Teak or Security Bravo. Meets Bertram, probably Bravo. But then the Teak has the Teak attack, so it's like...
Bravo has the Bravo bomb.
Yeah.
And the psychic connection if you wanted to transmute something back quietly.
Okay, do you want me to call over Bravo then?
Well, I'd recommend that you take the, Lieutenant Commander Bravo. But...
Okay. In that
Your
case,
choice, though.
yeah,
Okay.
Matt, I will contact Lieutenant Commander Bravo from security and ask him to meet me at a convenient place so we can go to the cargo bay.
Oh, it's so nice that you've promoted Bravo.
Is he Lieutenant Commander? Yeah.
He should
Well,
be just he should be just LT at the moment.
Well, the thing is,
he's still
someone
Captain
didn't want to
Bravo.
take the Lieutenant Commander position, so when someone else had to, right, Fazanan? Making that intro inaccurate.
As long as possible.
Not that he's bitter or anything, but he put effort in.
Yeah, I wrote in like 5 extra characters. No, it's fine.
Okay. All right. So. So we're not going to change maps. We'll just put it in our brains that Bertram meets up with Lieutenant Bravo, who is dispatched from the command team in order to meet up in Cargo Bay 2. Whereupon, yes, you find a very cold cargo bay, which is darkly lit, and it's filled practically with just line upon line of body bags. Each of them have been tagged in a rudimentary way. Whatever was close by that could be used as an identifier.
Yeah.
Mostly just people's rank pins have been used. So it takes a bit of time, but not too long to actually find the captain's body bag. So, if I can get Bertram to give me a control and medicine check, this will be difficulty 1, and your biology focus will apply.
Okay.
Two successes, which means you gain a momentum. Okay.
Yay.
So, it takes about 10 full minutes to fully autopsy a body, especially since all you're using is a tricorder.
Yeah.
Right, let's see.
I've got my trusty laser scalpel with me.
A cursory investigation shows nasty wound on her head, but as you run a scan over the rest of her body, you get something else. Now, the actual cause of death was asphyxiation, which ordinarily would make sense because a lot of people would probably have died when bulkheads gave way to the vacuum of space. However, the marks on her neck are more consistent with strangulation, and she has got a couple of bruises and scratches which suggest defensive wounds.
Okay. Am I able to try a scan to see from the bruises, scratches, and especially the marks on the neck, if I can get information as to sort of like potentially something like the species of the attacker?
If you want to spend a point of momentum, you can get more information.
People all right with me doing that?
Yeah, spend it.
Mhm.
Although
Okay.
I'm pretty confident it's either going to be Vulcan/Romulan.
I'll spend that momentum.
All right, I'll knock that off. So what's
sorry,
the precise question that you're asking here?
Okay. I wish to find, with as much detail as possible, clues to the person, or the details of the person, so range of the species, and to any potentially helpful information on who, or at least what kind of creature, species-wise, would are most likely to have caused the strangulation and attack marks present on the body of the captain.
Okay. So there are very few lacerations, which suggest that those that are there are more than likely from foreign objects, which would make sense in a struggle, and indeed from like consoles and stuff blowing up when the ship started taking damage. But the strangulation marks are in a pattern that suggests someone held their hands against her neck and squeezed. So you're certainly looking at somebody who has 4 fingers and a thumb on each hand, from 2 hands. They were strong enough to practically crush a windpipe. It's not unheard of for particularly bulky humans to be capable of such, but of course any of the other humanoid species that have got sufficient physical strength, Vulcans of course being one of them, would display such. The majority of the defensive wounds are bruises, which suggests mostly blunt force trauma. So you're looking at someone who was probably slightly taller than she was, more than likely slightly heavier, unless they possess some kind of physical strength which belies their physical size. But it's certainly not going to be any of the insectoid races or any of those who are obviously not humanoid.
Understand it. Do I know if Romulans, because they're related to Vulcans, if they have the impressive physical strength that a Vulcan has?
Good question. Would you know that? I suppose at this juncture it's probably a logical hypothesis, let's say.
Yeah.
Because almost everyone now knows that Romulans and Vulcans are related. So the fact that Vulcans are ridiculously physically strong would suggest that Romulans themselves, by logic and association, would themselves be physically strong. And if you go in that way, that suggests something very interesting, doesn't it?
Yeah. And rather worrying.
So, sorry, you were going to say something?
I say, have we been briefed of the, or given information of exactly what point the captain was believed to have been killed at this point?
According to the information you were given by the Nightingale's first officer, the captain was found dead in the corridor of her quarters, and was believed to have been killed when that side of the ship took damage from the bombardment from the Romulan ship.
Okie dokie. Look around, just checking. It is just me and Bravo.
It is just you and Bravo currently in the morgue.
Okay. Right.
None of the body bags have sat up or anything. You're okay.
Yeah. I wasn't.
Just
That
silently
worried.
watching you, asking why.
Yeah, I wasn't that worried about the bodies dead. Although now you said I'm tempted to actually do a quick quick sketch just in case someone is masquerading as a dead body.
I will save you the need to make a check. You don't find any evidence of such.
You do find a transmitter on one of the body bags, so they'll be doing a signal to the Romulan ship.
Now, before we move on, let's quickly swap scenes down to Nightingale Engineering Room. Now, Vibers, you were currently working on the warp core safety system. Now, the guy who was helping you was the fellow next to you, which is Lieutenant Naval. You'd managed to make some headway with the warp core safety systems. So, excuse me, do you want to continue?
Yep, let's get something so this thing can cope with antimatter and it doesn't just decide to fend the whole ship base.
So, you did enough of a good job last time that you made a major breakthrough. So if you manage to make another breakthrough, you'll be able to have completed the job in well before time. With these extended tasks that we're doing to track the repair to the ship, each and every interval or turn that the work takes is about 15 minutes worth of work. So you've already completed 15 odd minutes of the job.
Right.
So,
well, previously, I also got the manual shipped to me.
You did. It just so happened that that manual also had the codes, yes.
Hey, why do one thing when you can ask for two things in one go?
The wonders of modern communication technology. Okay.
Okay. I kinda need to get these codes entered, but I also kinda need the ship working safe before I try and enter.
Yeah, so the kind of the order of things is going to be, in order to get the computers active, the computer system needs to be fixed. In order to fix the computer system, it needs power. In order to get power, you need to get the warp core online. In order to get the warp core online, you need to get the safety systems online. Plus, let's not overlook the fact that the hull has also taken a good deal of damage, which means, because there's so much exterior hull plating damage, means that there's a lot of emergency force fields in place, which means that that is causing a drain on the power.
Yeah, let's get the warp core up, then the force fields can be powered properly before the batteries run out.
Okay, so first thing we need is an engineering check for you to try and fix the warp core safety systems. So as you might imagine, this is probably going to be...
engineering?
Yeah. That bit goes there, that bit goes there, and if I make this new bit and stick it in there, then this should work. That sounds like reason to me.
I am going to spend two momentum.
Doing what exactly?
Using the manuals to obtain an advantage, and I can re-roll 1d20 during the next engineering task.
Everyone alright with him creating an advantage by taking 2 momentum?
Wait for it.
Okay, so the difficulty of the task is 2.
Okay, and this is all to do with warp stuff. I'm kind of focused in this.
You've created an advantage, so yeah.
I'd have used daring and engineering. Much more fun. It's the worst thing can happen with a warp core.
The purple one goes to the red one, and boom.
Extra dice, does it?
Right, so if the advantage puts the difficulty down, then that gives you a difficulty of 1.
No, I'm just double checking what does an advantage do. I've slept since I looked at the rules.
Well, pretty much what you want, whatever you wanted. If you want to create the advantage of lowering the difficulty because you've got a manual that shows you where everything goes, and that's fine with me. You've lowered the difficulty from 2 to 1 by spending momentum and creating the appropriate trait. Using the manual.
Okay.
Or reading the instructions, that's what we'll call it. Okay, so all that means is that you've completed 15 minutes of work, but you have not yet.
I'm still
So you've completed 15 minutes of work, and it's going okay, but you didn't make any headway with it. But the advantage is still there. You've created it. It'll hang around.
Does this lieutenant who's helping me get to roll assist?
He doesn't really, because he's just
Cool.
an NPC, really. I mean, if you want him to aid you in the next turn, that could also be...
Don't you have Engineering Bravo in there to help you?
No, he's on the bridge.
That's right, you did put Engineer Bravo to help repair stuff on the bridge. In fact, whilst...
trying to get damage control back up and running.
So whilst we're in engineering, let's quickly switch to the bridge. Now, for the moment, that means Andrews is not present. Nova is definitely not present because she is the elsewhere. However, Lieutenant Bravo Engineer. Who would like to be Bravo the Engineer? As I take away the Centurions because they're currently with Andrews and the rest of the command squad. So, who hasn't had a go yet? Jan, do you fancy being Lieutenant Bravo the Engineer?
Sure.
Right, you wanted him to work on damage control. Well, damage control at the moment isn't a system that needs repair because it's just down from there being no power. However,
It was working on something on the bridge.
there's lots of things. He's got a choice. There's weapon systems, there's computer repair, there's the shields, there's the general secondary systems, there's propulsion. And of course, the self-destruct is not operating either, so if you want to go that way. So, which system do you guys think should be repaired next? Or in concert with?
I think maybe propulsion.
Propulsion. Okay, so we go down here to help the helm officer.
I don't know. I'd potentially say the computer
Anybody else with an
Take-
opinion?
or the secondary systems, but I'm happy to go propulsion first, so we can steer it.
Yep, good point.
Yep.
Everybody else okay with that?
Computer is we're locked out. I think.
Yes.
There
Yeah,
is
we
that. Everybody alright with propulsion?
Yep.
Cool. Okay, so propulsion systems. That's going to be a difficulty 1 check. So for Bravo, yeah, this can be reason and engineering. And let's see, one of his focus is damage control and repair. Yeah, there you go. So let's get him some engineering action going on. 1 success, which was what you needed. 1 breakthrough and 15 minutes of work means that you've managed to... that Engineer Bravo has now managed to put in enough repair on the propulsion control systems that once impulse and engine power is restored, the Nightingale should be able to fly normally. At least the helm systems will be able to guide it normally. So yeah, cool. Nicely done. So that's some work in engineering done. That's some work up here on the bridge. Now, if we jump back to the command crew. So, Lieutenant Bravo is temporarily off in the morgue, helping with Dr. Bertram, which leaves Andrews and Natik in the navigational array, along with the navigation officer, Lieutenant Dallon, and a quintet of scowling Romulan Centurions. Nova is still technically on the exterior of the ship, looking at the navigational sensor. So we can include definitely Nova on this. So what would you like to do now?
You said that he was the temporary navigation officer.
No, he's the actual Nightingale navigational officer. You had previously asked him what had gone on, and he had told you that he had checked the system and it seemed to be operating normally, but then on a whim had checked an exterior excuse me, an exterior port window and the view didn't match what the computer system was reporting back. So that was when it became obvious that there was something horribly wrong, and the ship came, and he asked the ship to come to a stop.
Yeah, so this is our This is our navigation. This is the actual helm officer, not the navigational array officer.
This is the guy in charge of the navigation system.
Okay. So, based on what Nova has said, I think the questions would be subtly pointed to question to say whether there's been any planned maintenance or documented works done on the navigation array within the last few days, probably day and a half, prior to the incident.
Lieutenant Dallon himself is in attitude. He's very despondent. He's fretting a lot. He's a trill, by the way. It hastens to be noted. He's fretting a lot. He's downcast, and so when you ask the question, he kind of snaps back to comes back to the room, as it were. I don't remember there being any planned maintenance, but if there was, there would be a record of it, but it would be in the computer system. I don't remember one off the top of my head, but I don't know, maybe I made a mistake and I didn't notice. I didn't look.
I'm pretty sure that from Lieutenant Nova's assessment is that you would have noticed this level of error.
I would have hoped so. The fact that I didn't means that I've put everyone here I put every one of my crewmates in danger.
Just on how he's responding, do I get the impression that he's either a phenomenally good actor, or this is genuine level of despair of he believes that he was ultimately responsible for?
You would have to give me an insight and command check, and I'll make this difficulty 1.
PTSD survival champ?
Yeah, I'll allow that.
Yeah.
He's certainly been through something traumatic. 1, you got on what you needed. Yeah, your Commander Andrews' own experience with trauma survivors. This guy's obviously very emotional. Probably feeling what would be the equivalent of survivor's guilt. So yeah, you reckon there's a very strong chance that what he's displaying as his outward emotions is entirely genuine.
Yeah.
He is casting nervous glances in the direction of the Centurions. But that's reasonable, considering the situation.
Yeah. Is there a Jeffries tube nearby?
Yeah.
With the deliberately requesting access from the Romulans, would like to check to make sure that there is. Would like to take Lieutenant Dallon with me to do a check of the security of the isolinear relays within the Jeffries tubes area.
And you're doing this loudly so that the Romulans know it?
Oh no, I'm asking the Romulans permission.
Permission. One of us stands in the entrance to the Jeffries tube and watches you.
Of course. That's reasonable.
Okay. So, Dallon shows you to a wall panel which comes off and reveals the entrance to the access Jeffries tubes beyond. So, let's pair off a Romulan Centurion that's going to be watching you intently as you do. So, yeah, what are you looking to achieve whilst in the Jeffries tube?
To ask questions slightly more openly.
Okay.
Obviously without the Romulan presence. Well, the Romulans. So, I'm trying to think, how would you converse with a trill? there be something within Starfleet command protocols for relaying messages in plain sight? Let's justify it there.
Well, if we remember the Wrath of Khan, or the Wrath of Khan, depending on how you pronounce it, Regulation 46A, no uncoded messages when you know they're being monitored. No unencoded messages while you know you're being monitored, so you're probably just going to have to find a point of... Yeah, what's the best thing? Well... security protocols might be a good way of seeing whether or not you can come up with a way of communicating subtly between the two of you. So perhaps have... Sorry, go on.
Insight security?
Yeah. Make this difficulty...
Can I justify the Starfleet protocol?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll make this another 1 difficulty. Because you're trying to do it under being spied on by a... There you go. Cool. On the... yeah, that was close. Nicely done. Okay, yeah, so basically you get Dallin to work on a set of relays on one side of the tube while you open up a panel and work on the other side. And you manage to work it so that you're basically pulsing signals from your relay to his. So, in that regard, what do you want to ask? What do you want to converse with him about?
Right, so if he's nervous, I'm kind of thinking that he's okay. So just basically along the lines of, we know that this has been sabotaged. I need you to think of anyone that could have been responsible for this.
Wow, okay. Well, yes. When Dallon hears sabotage, he kind of freezes and starts turning towards you to look, at which point you have to remind him very, very quickly to play it cool.
Yeah, so basically it would be I'll kind of ping that signal and then ask him to just tell me about the navigational crew.
Okay. So in an encoded fashion, he lets you know that pretty much anybody that wants access to the navigational array can get it. I mean, overall, the Nightingale was on a stellar mapping mission. So you would have had departments coming in requesting access to the navigational sensor data. I mean, they could go through stellar cartography, but those guys are a bit haughty. And of course, you can go through ops as well. But if you want to just cut out too much of the middleman, you can just request access to the navigational array itself and just access the computer and take whatever data you want away. Now, obviously, the situation recently has become difficult in that regard because of the computer lockout. But a lot of people could potentially have access to the navigational whatever. Does he reckon there are any amongst his crew who could be suspicious? Dallon's not sure. The moment you mention saboteur, you can see him start to work it out in his brain. You know, you can put it together. Saboteur, Romulan Neutral Zone, Romulans. Romulans are on board. Now I think of it, the Romulans were a bit quick to respond. And he doesn't know now. In fact, he's for a moment there, he peers at you with a bit of a wait a minute, but then he kind of checks himself and goes, wait, no, that makes no sense. That Andrews could be one as well, because now you're asking me questions.
Yeah. So after that, I think it'd be a case of, when it looks like there doesn't seem to be any issues with the EPS conduits and isolinear chips within this section. So as far as we can tell, the navigational array appears to be fully operational. With a look at Dallon to say, yes it is, isn't it?
Yes, Commander. Absolutely. Must have happened when we took damage from the Romulan attack. I'm not very good at this. Meanwhile, on the exterior of the ship, Nova's still just kind of there.
If you read the Discord chat, she's currently outside the bridge window.
I see. I don't read in the Discord chat. So, our boarding actions, I approve this message. So, So, yeah, Nova, you're outside, and I presume have been listening in to at least what Andrews has been talking, so... What would Nova do in this situation? What with everything, all the comm chatter that's been going on?
Probably start trying to isolate any signals leaving the ship, so it's trying to signal some.
Okay. Now, if I recall, some attempt had been made to see if anyone was sending messages from the Nightingale to the Romulan ship, and I think Edwards had been told to keep an eye on it. Am I remembering that correct?
I think I was monitoring, yes.
Okay. So, yeah, by all means, Nova can attempt her own tricorder scan of the ship to see if she can detect any signals. But a comm back to the Navis will tell you that it is being monitored, and so far, so quiet. Now, likewise, there haven't been any sign of the Romulans sending any kind of signal or communication at all, either. And from Nova's view out here on the exterior of the Nightingale, the Romulan Warbird doesn't look very damaged at all.
Is there any way of checking if the messages are Romulans headed back towards Romulan space?
Say that again, sorry. Alex was clearing his throat and you're a bit quiet.
Oh, is there any way of checking the Romulan ship to see if that's sending any messages back towards Romulan space?
Yeah, you can try and do it yourself with a tricorder, or you can come back to the Navis and ask them to do it.
It's probably better coming from the Navis, it's stronger, unless I can hack into this communications or...
Yeah, cool. So if we quickly jump to the Navis bridge, maybe we should get Mr. Edwards to give us a little poke in the communication area. So that would be a control plus science check using communications as a focus.
Here we go.
Yep, make it difficulty 1. Oh, there you go. 1 success. Right, so currently there's no communications going out from the Warbird at all. There's no communications coming into the Warbird either. It seems they're very much there, just sitting there. Now, when this comes in, when Nova's request comes in, Captain Akul kind of sits forward and then presses one of the controls on the armrest of the captain's chair. Captain Akul to Commander Andrews. Respond on a secure channel if you're able. I know we got a load of people here on the left of the bridge, but they're not actually there because they're all on the ship. Commander Andrews. Yeah, go on. Go on, Webby.
Andrews will acknowledge. It'll be coded transmission. It was sort of like. Yeah, kind of like double tapping the badge to say not secure.
Okay. At which point he will look towards Edwards or Thazanan or Natala at that point. What's the beep mean? So one of them will have to go, secure, not secure, Captain. Oh,
Andrew's receiving. Right. Andrew's receiving, Captain.
What is your status, Commander?
Investigations are ongoing, Captain. We have been able to ascertain some information, and repairs are ongoing on board the Nightingale.
Sensors seem to indicate that Lieutenant Nova is on the exterior of the ship.
That is correct, Captain. We are currently performing a diagnostic on the navigational array and the deflector.
Mr. Edwards, keep this line of communication open, but open one to Lieutenant Nova.
Certainly, sir.
Nova, what have you found?
Sabotage on the communications navigation array.
Sabotage, you're sure?
I believe so.
Where are the rest of your team members?
In the Nightingale.
Very quick, Lieutenant. What is their position aboard the Nightingale? Andrews, where's the rest of your team?
We have several members of the crew on board the bridge, several are in main engineering, and Dr. Bertram and security are currently in Cargo Bay 2. Myself and Ensign Natik are currently in the navigation array control room.
Very well. Keep this line open. Edwards, patch me through to the others.
Aye, Captain.
Vibers, report.
Systems we're starting to get warp safety systems back online. It's going to be at least another 20 minutes until this thing's safe for getting the core back running. At which point we should be able to get the force fields running properly so we don't run out of air over here.
I see. Bertram, your status.
I have just completed an autopsy on the Captain Nightingale. Please confirm this is a secure channel.
Edwards, confirm this is a secure line.
Check to see if we're being listened in on. And encrypt it.
Yeah,
Okay.
Would Andrews be able to patch it so it's just coming through so she can hear, but
Yeah.
not speak?
Yeah, absolutely.
You want me to make any rolls or just...
No, let's assume.
Do it.
Core
If you want to do it,
competency.
you can do a check if you want.
Do it. Roll a 20. Come on.
Go on then. Edwards, give me another control and science with communications.
So will I be able to sort of like bounce it around the ship a bit just to try and obfuscate it?
Obfuscate. Okay.
Obfuscate it, sorry.
Difficulty 1
Okay,
again.
it'd be like the idea of like hackers bouncing things around the different servers.
Yeah,
Same
I get
thing,
you.
but internally.
I get you. Cool, yep. Do it that way. Relay to relay to relay. 1, okay, cool. So you've managed to secure the line. And you can confirm that nobody at present is listening in. Line is secure, Doctor. You may report.
The autopsy on the Captain Nightingale has revealed the, contrary to the assumption that was made by her crew, she was not killed by the attack directly from the Romulans as a result of the attack on the ship. She died as a result of strangulation, asphyxiation while defending herself against an assailant.
Well, 3 guesses who that assailant was. Seems, from what you're all reporting, that there's a spy on board the Nightingale.
Would appear so from the evidence, sir.
Andrews would chip in at this point and says, I confirm with that. I confirm with that assumption, Captain.
What is your recommendation as to how you would proceed, Commander? If I had my way, I would interrogate every single officer aboard the Nightingale, but I don't have my way, so...
I really just want to say delicately. No, this situation has a very high chance to escalate, Captain. My initial investigations are trying to identify potential suspects. We have a potential lead, I believe.
Go on.
Command, at this point, Andrews, because of where she is that she would ask Vibers to relay the information earlier. I can't remember his name, but basically ultimately would say, what's his name, Lieutenant blah blah blah.
Are you talking about Dallin, the navigator?
No, not Dallin the Navigator, the one that's gone missing.
Telek.
Oh, Telek. Right.
What position was Telek?
He was actually a science officer.
We have a science officer who was disappeared on us during repairs. I've broken by chance? Or so he looked. Some more wanna know it.
Commander Andrews, I want you to continue your investigation as you have been going, but also keep a very close eye on those Romulans who are with you. Lieutenant Nova, I have a mission for you, and I'm going to draw upon your expertise in infiltration. Especially because I have read everybody's profile, and Nova is the one least capable of keeping a secret amongst a lot of you. It would probably be wise to employ her in another fashion, since she won't be able to keep whatever we've learned away from the Romulans. So instead, Nova, I want you to go and seek another access point on the exterior of the ship, and gain entrance to the ship that way. Do not go back in the way you emerged onto the hull. I want you to use your infiltration speciality and your abilities as a Betazoid, and see if you can determine who amongst the crew might very well be the one we're after. Andrews, your task is still the same. Investigate and see if you can discover who or what is going on. Vibers, continue doing what you're doing. Bertram, your efforts are still best used in sickbay, but if you get the opportunity, you will see the most throughput of the Nightingale's crew, therefore you'll be in a good opportunity to scan people for genetic or biological abnormalities. Thazanan, I need you to make sure that the Navis's engines are kept ready to go at a moment's notice in case we need to jump to the Nightingale's defense, or we need to take on the Romulans before they start things. Just in case. Edwards, you are to keep a very close ear on any communications going to or from the Romulans.
Aye, sir.
Is everybody clear on their assignments so far?
So,
Aye, sir.
Well, as Commander Andrews has said, this is a delicate situation. So let's see things done this Federation way, yes? Before I start losing my patience and we start doing things the Klingon way.
yes, sir.
Alright. So,
Do you want self-destruct next priority then, sir?
one step at a time, Commander. Right, let's jump back to engineering. See if we can get these repairs done. So, let's go back to Vibers, see if you can repair those warp core safety systems.
Vibers, he's our man. If he can't do it, no one can.
Do it.
V-I-B-E-R-S, go! Woo! That was awful, man. That did not go to...
Right.
This is why I was never a cheerleader. That and the fact that, you know...
Now remember, you need to wire the self-destruct button to
We
go
just
to
have to do it.
resonate with your comm badge.
3 successes! So, that gets you well over and above what you needed. So that's another 15 minutes gone, but you managed to get the work that you needed done. You have secured the warp core safety systems. Well done. So, it's now safe to re-engage the warp core. Now, with that extra success, we bump the momentum
Rolled that
back.
high on the success as he crashed out of the game.
Wow!
Apparently my session timed out on forward, which means it kicks me out.
It does happen, I'm afraid, yes.
It's when the game keeps working, but everything from forward just goes, nah.
So that's cool. We have now got warp core safety systems back online, which means the warp core can be started up. So let's quickly jump to the Nightingale Bridge, where we can get Engineer Bravo to do some more work on the ship. So we've repaired the propulsion system. We've got secondary systems, shields, weapons, computer repair, self-destruct repair remaining as options. Any ideas on what we would like to do next?
I think get the computer back. No, leave the computer. The moment we get the computer back up, we'll get asked questions. So if we leave that till last.
So let's see, the time elapsed has now been roughly 45 minutes of repairs. So, yeah, if computer repair isn't going to be the one, then Jan or anybody else, any ideas where you want to go, which system you want to try and repair next? Anybody?
Secondary systems would be mine.
We'd be worth potentially transporters if we have to get people out in a hurry.
Which would be secondary systems.
Yeah, I think secondary systems.
Okay, so if we move you over to Ops Officer Claude, with his big chunky fingers, typing very, very slowly, only with his index fingers.
Can we recruit him?
I will see if we can't put in a transfer order.
Yeah.
You never know, he might end up being so traumatized of his encounter with the Romulans here, but was so impressed with the crew of the Navis, he thought, you know what, I want a piece of that.
But their helm officer is a commander.
Needs promoted to.
Remember, Claw's actually security. He's only like part-time, so.
Nova's already told him he's doing a great job. So
Yep, she did.
Yeah.
What was that, Davis? I didn't catch that. You were a bit quiet.
I think Latude needs promoted to first officer of the Nightingale, and then
You want to transfer Latude?
back on one of these buttons.
But Latude has grown as a mustache.
He's grown on maybe the rivalry's no longer there.
Still top it.
Oh, I know he's grown
He
on
has.
it, but just having it like our NPCs are now our backup.
Okay, apparently Lieutenant Bravo doesn't have vision, because as soon as you start taking tokens off on the map, is that I can only see through the doorway from Vibers.
Okay. Alleviated.
Asbijan update. There we go.
So, secondary systems. So, yeah, Jan, if you want to do Engineer Bravo. Again, this one is difficulty 1. Again. And apparently my comm badge is having a day. Oh, yeah. 1 success, which means you get the 1 breakthrough you needed. 15 minutes worth of work. And you managed to get secondary systems online. At the very least, their interfaces are now repaired so that when power is restored, secondary systems will be accessible again. So, secondary systems, what did we say with that? So, lighting, replicators, internal scanners, and many other minor systems. Okie dokie.
Hopefully oxygen generation so that's the secondary system as well.
Well, life support is still operational. Otherwise, you know. How are you all still breathing?
Well, we're in EVA, so the rest of them.
It isn't.
Bertram's like, no one told me!
It's just
Wait, we're breathing.
Bertram's just standing. Actually, yeah, Edwards isn't breathing on the flipping on the Navis. Wait, no, someone's looking at me. Pretend to breathe.
Yeah, but I only learned was being a changeling and all, apparently.
He's admitted it!
Admitted it, quick! Andrew's to Captain Court. He's a changeling. Space him.
Alright, who do we want next? Well, we're going to assume that Bertram... Bertram goes back towards sickbay, which leaves Lieutenant Bravo security to make his way back to where Andrews and Natik are at. So, what are Andrews, Natik, and Bravo going to do?
Yes.
Yeah. Any suggestions? I actually don't. I'm drawing a blank on what. There's a lot of things I would like to do, but
You passed the message on that the gentleman's gone missing. Are we to actually potentially investigate where he's gone?
it would be very suspicious of us to go hunting with the Romulans breathing down our necks.
As well as any list of minor repairs or anything about the place that will allow us conveniently enough to split up a bit.
There is the case that internal sensors are down, so
we could have to go around manually to check things.
So do you basically want to take the Romulans on a bit of a walkabout of the ship?
Yeah, I think that would be the worst. The next bit then is we start by doing. I'd like to request that we continue a deck-by-deck sweep for survivors. And again, pointing it directly at the Romulan Centurions, is that I'm asking their permission for us to do a deck-by-deck sweep to see if we can find any additional injured crewmen.
Very well, Starfleet.
It would probably be easier if we split up, so that we can search decks quicker.
No.
We can do more damage that way.
Stay together, so we can keep an eye on all of you.
But there are 5 of you, and 3 of us. We could split, so it is 2, 2, and 1.
Very well. Natik's kind of there, nervously going, can I get just the one? I'm not as confident in my ability to take down 2 Romulans.
Well, yeah, we know he's capable of killing someone with his bare hands.
Yeah. I'd like to limit the amount of damage I could do. I wonder if I can Bravo bomb 2 Romulans at the same time. Well, there's only one way to find out.
Only one way to find out.
Okay, so you guys are going to go on a search for
I think that would be
Vox.
worthwhile. Is that if Natik is less confident of the 3.
Okay. So you guys
Basically
are going to
just
go.
trying to split the Romulans up as much as possible on the ship, because we know there's 12 of them on board at the moment.
There's these 5.
Is there these? I thought there's some additionals.
I thought there was
No.
6 originally.
5
Nope.
and our traitor.
Well, okay.
No, I thought there was one for each
But
of us.
the traitor's sitting there on the comms.
The Romulus decided one group to accompany the commanders was enough. They were all right with letting the repair crew go out without chaperones.
Pattern-wise, because we've had chance, have the Romulans been relaying messages in at certain time intervals?
Strangely enough, no. They've been very quiet, occasionally just muttering amongst themselves, but otherwise they appear to have made no attempt to communicate with their ship, have not been making regular reports back or anything.
Okay. Andrews will subtly relay to both Bravo and Natik if they get the opportunity to lose their Centurion, to take it.
Okay. Meanwhile, while you initiate that little plan of yours, we're going to go to Nova. Nova, now you have free agency. Where would Nova like to go?
On this Nova class starship.
I suppose simply using infiltration, I probably think the best way to get in would be through a damaged bulkhead that's been depressurized and
Okay.
blown out. So I'm thinking potentially using my Betazoid abilities to try and sort of use the Romulan ship and the Romulans on board as a tuning rod, and try and gauge them, but also try and search for hostility, because I figure at this point most of the ship's just going to be like scared, exhausted, worried, rather than thinking, how do I get out of here, how do I accomplish my plan.
Okay, so you know where the Romulan Centurions are, so you can tune into them. So let's see how well you do that first of all, then, shall we? This is going to be the usual insight and command. You know where they are, and let's give it a difficulty of 1 then. Using your Betazoid empathic abilities to get a sense of what the Romulan Centurions are up to. 1 success, okay. So you gain a general sense of, like you said, aggression, a good bit of, aggressive feelings are going on in these guys. but also a little bit of impatience, warring with a bit of self-discipline and self-control. So you get that kind of general mix. But it makes sense with what you've learned thus far. So you want to now use that as a baseline to scan the rest of the ship for a similar emotion pattern?
Yeah, and then try and find a broken bulkhead as close to that as I can to get as close to it as I can from the outside.
Okay, nice. Now, this is you extending your empathic abilities to search for a specific, almost like you're scanning for a specific signal on a ship that's giving off a lot of signals. So it's going to be your own ability to make out a single voice in a crowded, noisy room. So I'm going to bump this up to a difficulty of 2, and then I'm going to spend threat to make it a difficulty 3. Because you can only imagine the guy that you're looking for doesn't want to be found, so...
In that case, then, can I spend a momentum and burn a determination on empathetic orphan?
Absolutely you can. And I will allow you to use your infiltration focus for this. So, knock off a point of determination. Feel free to reduce one of the momentum pool by 1 as well. 5 successes, which means I put it up to, what did I say, 3? Which means you got 2.
Yeah.
2 over what you needed. Nice. So you put the group back on full momentum. Alright. So, it takes a good deal of effort. Let's not mix messages about this. This is some serious, strenuous activity that had to go on with Nova straining her Betazoid abilities. But to Nova's credit, as she reaches out to try and just brush the minds of everybody on board, Nova gets what she expects, which is the mix, as you quite rightly said, Sean. There's the mix of fear, anxiety. I'll put in as a freebie that Nova gets that kind of self-assured, hey, check out my guys. When Nova brushes the familiar emotion patterns of Navis crew, mostly the engineer repair crew, and Vibers, and, Doc Bertram and Nurse Bravo, there's not as much of that nerves and fear. They're going about and doing they're being professionals. So,
telepathic pat on the back.
Yeah, it's like, hey, my guys.
Hey.
Mental high five. So yeah, Bertram all of a sudden feels a tap on his back. Oh, what the fuck? What was that? What was that? Sorry, I swore there.
Ghosts of God.
If the captain's alive and behind me, I quit.
The body bag gets
I'm not in the morgue. Thank God.
Because Captain the Cool, turns out I was wrong. The captain isn't even dead.
There's ghosts on this ship. And one of them likes me, I think. So the point of this is Nova locks onto a nervous but controlled nervous emotion pattern that you would pinpoint to be around about deck, let me think, 6, I think, on a Nova class ship, which would put it in the vicinity of computer control.
Okay. I'll start heading that way and try and find an entrance as close to it as I can.
Okay. That'll be no problem for someone as accomplished in infiltration as Nova, so I'm not going to require a check for that since you did so spectacularly well on your Betazoidal check. Betazoidal check. That's a word that needs to be entered into the dictionary. Betazoidal.
Betazoidal.
Right, so let's take Nova away from there since she is elsewhere. But who can we get to next? Who haven't we come back to? Let's go back to... Now, there's nothing much to happen on sickbay at the moment because it all depends entirely on what happens in engineering. So...
Okay. Well, we've got the safety systems online.
Yes, you do.
I think now's probably a really good time to try and get the actual core back.
Which will be this by here, and it seems that there is a Tellarite lieutenant who's currently working to try and repair that.
Lieutenant? Alright, where are you up to?
Where am I up
Oi.
to? Are you suggesting that I've been just sitting here doing nothing?
Of course not. I'm suggesting that you need some adult supervision and you're gonna help me get this all sorted quick and on time.
Adult
So what do you need?
supervision?
What else do you need so we can get a move on?
Now, Vibers has been around, so Vibers knows what Tellarites are like.
Yep.
Tellarites are
Don't be polite
argumentative.
to them.
Yeah.
They don't like being polite. It winds them up more than if you're rude.
So yeah, after after Vibers' response, she kind of chews her lip a little bit and then just nods and goes to work. So yeah, you have
Hey,
got.
Oi! Status update. I need you to talk as well as do.
Okay. So yeah, the obviously the warp core is in need of repair, but it's mostly in need of restart now. So the restart procedures need to be engaged. So this is a difficulty 1 Checkaroony
Okay. Control
with the usual check to be made.
engineering it.
2 successes, but there was a
It's
complication.
all fine!
It's only the warp core.
All right. Let me think for a second. Okay. Okay. So, because you had 2 successes, it means that in a short stint of time, pardon me, and it takes you another 15 minutes to engage the warp core, but you do it with the advantage, of course, of the manual that you brought with you. You've got the startup procedures. Vibers knows what he's doing with core startup procedures. He's really confident about it, in which case, you know, he just goes straight to it. The warp
Fine,
core.
we just have to use a secondary to back it up.
So the warp core thrums into life, and it's at that point that lights around the ship start to flicker on dully. But in a number of locations, there is a power surge. And that power surge is gonna be on eeny, meeny, miny. Yeah! Sick bay!
There's glass all over the place.
So there is an explosion in sickbay as not long after power comes back on, a plasma conduit blows out and starts a plasma fire in sickbay.
Okay. Is there any sort of a safety emergency equipment in sickbay?
You would hope so, wouldn't you?
Okay. Looking around, are there any sort of like emergency fire suppression units or anything like that?
Yeah,
Any
you could
kind of-
probably find one.
Okay, I'll go and try and put that fire out.
Alright, so this is going to be... let me think. I imagine Bertram would be a bit more controlling, a bit more precise with this, so let's go with control rather than daring. But this is gonna be... what do we think, guys? Maybe engineering so that you can use your plasma power system focus.
Yay! I was going to ask about that focus, but it's like the DM pays attention. Okay,
What?
so control, engineering. Right, let's see how.
One success. Okay. So Bertram fearlessly jumps in to take on the plasma fire and manages to pretty well extinguish it after a couple of moments of controlled dousing. of the plasma fire. So well done, Bertram. Once again, Commander Cottrell is full of praise for Bertram's quick responses and efficiency. But the other thing that people notice now, after they've gotten over the shock of that explosion and fire, is that power seems to be back on. Which means you're now getting scattered comm reports coming from all over the ship. But we also are getting comm signals through that there is some damage to some of the ship that's coming through as a result of the power surge. Which takes us to... I'm going to throw us back to Andrews, Natik, and Bravo. I am going to throw us into this map, the science labs. Now it's a bit of a cheat, I admit, but you guys were scattering yourselves around the place, so this is going to represent you guys coming across different folks in need as you separate. So this is going to be, basically you guys are going to choose which emergencies you want to attend to, but of course you're going to be doing it with your Romulan chaperones. So the situations we are presented with are threefold. We are going to have somebody have to deal with a crewman who's currently trapped under some masonry in a room whose entrance is blocked by a sparking power conduit. You're going to have somebody who has to deal with getting somebody out of a locked room that's got a fire going on and is therefore, they're going to die of smoke inhalation because it's not ventilated. The final one is going to be dealing with a pair of people who have been close to where parts of the ship have collapsed. One of them is going to have to be dug out from underneath some rubble. The other looks like they've basically been blown. They were near to a conduit when it a console when it blew. So. Pick your poison. So first of all, Webby is Andrews. Who is Bravo again?
Bravo security was me.
And who was Natik? I think
Yes.
Natik was up for grabs, wasn't he? So why don't we stick... I don't know. Bertram's just had his turn, so why don't we stick Jan as Natik? If everyone's okay with that? Cool.
Okay with that?
So who wants to deal with what?
I'd say Bravo trying to get someone out from the masonry. So that's something you might do.
Okay. Who wants to deal with the room on fire?
I'd probably say Andrews is probably best suited for that.
What, the masonry or the fire?
The fire.
Fair dues.
Which leaves Natik to try and get through the door into a room where there's a live power conduit and somebody trapped under masonry.
I wonder if my exoskeleton would make me less vulnerable to electric shocks.
As far as I'm aware, there's nothing to indicate that the Zindian sectoids have got any kind of resistance to electricity, but as you quite rightly point out, they have chitin, not skin. So what we can do is maybe create an advantage. If you're willing to spend 2 momentum.
I'm willing.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right, so I'm gonna have 2 Romulans on Bravo. There's gonna be 2 Romulans overseeing Phillips? I keep making that mistake. Andrews. And there's gonna be one watching over Natik. So.
Who is Phillips? Where are they and who are they?
Yeah, I keep making the mistake. I don't know why.
He's looking in the toolbox and seeing a screwdriver.
Probably. I did have to put a new power supply in my PC today, so I've got screwdrivers on the brain. Well, since we've been asking questions about Natik, let's do Natik first then,
Hey, Natik, there's a power cable. Think of
Lift it with my
Edwards.
bare hands.
Think of Edwards as you do it.
What has Edwards ever done to Natik?
Nothing. He's just he's sort of like his impression is imprinted on Natik. Now Natik's just going to electrocute everyone when he gets the chance. Like, hello, Mr. Romulan.
Shake my hand. I want to congratulate on a job well done. Okay, so the first challenge that Natik's going to have to get through is, of course, an acrobatic type challenge to get away from that sparking wire. So this sounds like either fitness or daring, and maybe security. I'll let Jan choose.
Fitness and security.
Okay. Now it's going to be quite difficult, and I'm going to use threat to bump it up to a 3. Actually, no, I'm not going to use threat to bump it up to 3. I'm going to keep it at 2, but I'm going to use threat to increase the complication range. So a complication on a 19 or 20 instead.
So I've subtracted 2 momentum for my
Create an advantage, which means that yeah, so let's say you've potentially mitigated the damage, or you've lessened the amount of damage that'll be caused if he does get electrocuted and failing this little jaunt.
Quickly, this was bleeding out.
In fact, I'll allow that to lower the difficulty down to 1 because that makes sense. Go through the trouble of making an advantage.
I think my focus is at 1.
Natik's focuses, let's have a look. Starfleet security protocols, hand-to-hand combat phaser weapons. Not sure any of those apply, really. I mean, mind you, security protocols, they probably train Starfleet security personnel to deal with all kinds of situations. So, it's conceivable that Natik might have attended a drill or a simulated situation where he does have to rescue someone from a situation like this. So.
Ah, I see. He's been to Doki's School of Training.
Oh, woof!
Woof!
Which is the second cross-franchise quote of the night. And also quite niche, because only those of us with children who watch children's television know what the heck we're talking about. So, difficulty 1, check, using the attributes that you wanted with an increased complication range. Go for it, Jan. One success, which means you've got it on the money. So Natik manages to jump through and land safely without coming near to the sparking wire, or at least near enough that he runs the risk of electrifying himself. The Romulan Centurion, of course, is in no way interested in doing this.
Takes 2 and 10 and do, however, stand up a little bit straighter, and there's a bit of a spark between them.
So now Natik has to get the officer who's trapped underneath the masonry, whatever
No,
they call it.
Natik hasn't got token vision.
Natik hasn't got token vision?
No. Because if Natik's here, there we go.
You're inside walls, that was it. Why did Bertram try to open a locked door?
That's me trying to actually find Natik.
Alright.
He's here.
Yeah, I found it, but I ended up sort of like highlighting an area to try and find where it was because I couldn't see the other rooms.
Fair enough. But at least the folks at home can. So this is going to be this is definitely going to be a fitness and security chest, because this is going to be raw brute strength now from Matik to lift the heavy stuff up so that the officer can be saved.
Complication range still 19.
I suppose, yes. So I'm not
was
a threat.
Hayden Christensen for a minute then, and until I zoomed in.
Has anybody called the Mystics? We need healers now.
So yeah, I'm gonna use threat to increase the critical threat, not critical threat range, the complication range, because you know if he slips and drops it, he could squish the guy. So. But this is difficulty 1. A success with a complication. Hummy hum hum.
Complication range.
What's the
Did it, but they're injured.
Right, so yes, so Natik manages to get the masonry up, but can't quite do it in such a way that he can push it to one side and pull the guy out. He has to hold it up and try and pull the guy out. He almost manages it before the wreckage falls on the guy's leg, and there's definitely a snap. So the guy's got a broken leg, won't be able to move under his own power, and definitely will need to be taken to sickbay.
Bertram incoming, broken leg.
But Natik successfully got through that, so well done, Natik. It's going to be a bit tricky getting him out the door, but Natik's managed it so far, so we'll assume that Natik manages to get through that one quite nicely. Maybe by pushing the sparking wire in the direction of the Centurion. Might want to get out the way.
Obviously.
You could say there's a spark between us.
Oh my god.
The
Not
atmosphere
really,
is
the place was
electric.
nice. So, let's go to Bravo. Security Bravo. Right, he finds a situation where there's a guy down unconscious, but there's another crew member who appears to be trapped under fallen debris. Which one does he see to first? They both appear to be unconscious.
Why is it that Mystics bloody evil?
Cursory glance at this one. Is there any obvious head wounds or anything, or chest wounds or anything like that?
Can I have an... let's see, we're going to go with Insight and Medicine. Let's give it a quick check over. Difficulty 1.
May I use a momentum?
Everyone alright with that?
Yeah.
When Webby says no, it actually means yes. Okay, go
Yes.
for it.
Burn them all.
2 successes, so you get 1 back. Right, this guy is breathing. He's unconscious. It looks like he's taken a bad blow to the head. You've got no choice but to move him to get him to sickbay, but it doesn't appear that he's suffered any kind of spinal damage. So it's possible to get this guy to sickbay. It might not...
Looking quick.
Go on, sorry.
No, continue.
With the limited medical training that Bravo has had, you could try and wake the guy up to get him to, go to sickbay under his own power, with help, obviously, but, with his own legs underneath him.
Yeah, I'll get com badge for this medbay now that I need someone to help pick up this guy
Okay.
effectively. One in Bravo to medbay. One down in... So where are we again?
Let's just say science labs.
One in science lab, head injury, unconscious, no back or injury to chest. Another unconscious, haven't yet assessed current medical condition, partially buried. Someone could come and help escort the one that's not buried sick bay while I try to get the other injured out.
Okay.
Over.
And I'm going to want you to make the same chest again to see if you can tell what's this poor lady here.
I'll ask for the same request again. Can I take a momentum just in case?
Going once, Going twice. Webby likes to be contrary as well. Go for it, my boy. 3 successes, which means you got 2 back. Well done. This lady has sadly expired. Crush injuries mainly. It looks like she bled out, mostly from internal injuries.
Update medbay. Update for medbay. 1 dead, buried in the masonry. 1 injured, unconscious. I'll be bringing the unconscious person to me. Whoever's come down, or if no one's come down, I'll be escorting them to medbay.
Okay.
And basically just try to tentatively pick him up and... I'm not going to say sling him over my shoulders, but have him over me just supporting.
Fireman's carry kind of thing.
Yeah, sort of. Oh no, I wasn't thinking that. I was thinking the whole like.
Oh,
you
one arm
walking
over your
with
shoulder
them.
thing.
Yeah.
Right. Cool. Which brings us to Andrews. You've got a sealed door with somebody on the other side of that door in a room with a fire.
Yeah, I don't know whether to just brute force the door.
I've got engineering still on, so let's make this general ambience. Up to you.
Cursory check first of all to see whether the control panel seems active.
The control panel does have power to it.
Okay, so I'm pretty confident then is that the person would have attempted to open the said door from opposite side, though something is forcing it not to open. Yeah.
Always try the manual override.
Yeah, I'll try the manual override first.
Okie dokie. So this is gonna be, let me see. Yeah, control engine, control security makes sense actually. Difficulty 1. You get 2 successes, you get 1 over. Okay, so the manual release is really stiff, but thankfully Andrews is rather strong, and so manages to eventually wrench the thing down to the point where the door opens just enough that you can see inside. And you can see a small contained room. Now, the problem is, of course, there's a fire, but mostly the fire is contained. It's the smoke that's the problem. And some of it starts to, of course, billow outwards now that you've created a gap for it to escape through.
Okay, so is the door open enough to climb and get through?
Yes.
Okay.
But it looks like you've got an electrical fire going on in here.
Meh. Fine. So the individual is clear of the electrics?
Yes, but very, very close to it.
Ah, that's fine.
Alright then, we're back, temporarily. My computer crashed, and now it seems for some of us Forge is having problems displaying anything but, well, nothing. So I'm afraid this is going to be a bit more visually boring for those of you who are watching at home and for those of us who haven't got anything to show on screen. So we'll see if we can't get something to work with a dice roller of some sort in, excuse me, in Discord. Hopefully something will eventually show up on a screen that I've got, but we will see. First things first. I've clicked on an external application role which wants access to your Discord account.
That's my dice roller. It's not got proper stuff for this, but it can do all normal dice rolls if we need something in the meantime. I don't know what the Magio one's like. Can give that a shot as well if you'd rather.
I seem to be going around in a loop. Add to server, Star Trek Adventures, USS Navis. Continue. An external application wants access to your Discord account. Confirm that you want to grant roll which the following to that. Send messages, read messages, mention, authorize. And I come back to an external application wants access to your Discord account. This will allow them to create commands in the server. Add to server. The integration is private, only the application owner can add it.
Well, we can potentially. Who's not on the Who's not on the
I'm currently not in Forge.
Oh, I can't even unpause it because it's completely crashed out. Ah.
So we're going to have to do this theatre of the mind style.
Are we just making stats?
We'll go from what I remember you can do, okay?
Hang on.
At least I did. We want to run well done. So.
So that we can see all we've been posting.
No.
Now I've just in Forge I have hit the spacebar, which usually releases paused game, but it's still paused on you, so nothing from me is going through. So I'm afraid you guys are kind of stuck looking at whatever it is you're looking at, and those at home are just stuck looking at this. So what are we gonna do? Well, let's see if we can't complete this mission with no dice rolls. So
Well, so I can access dice for people. I can access everyone except Edwards, I believe.
okay, we'll see what we can't do. So
Yeah, because Edwards is set as private. He's the only one that I can't actually access, and any of the crew, supporting characters, should be able to get hold of. Yeah.
okay. So, going back to Nova. Nova, you've managed to find your way to Deck 6, which has the computer control room. There are a trio of individuals that you see within the computer control room, one of which appears to be a security officer overlooking the other two who are working on the computer systems. One of which is the security officer is a female human. The other two who are working on trying to bring the computer systems back online are a Vulcan and a human. The Vulcan you recognize because he was the guy from the bridge that got carted off with Commander Fibers. Velek, you believe his name was.
Suddenly drop back and try and message the captain.
Captain Akul, okay?
Firstly, we're just going to check if the channel is secure and not tapped.
Yep, there has been no attempt to tap your communication or even detect it, so it still remains as secure as it was before.
Okay. I believe I've narrowed down the culprit to one of 3 people in the computer lab. I'm not sure on the status of the other crew members, but I may need backup if anybody is available. I think Vibers didn't have a tail.
That's true, but neither does Bertram.
Also good. It can distract them with moss.
Very well. Dr. Bertram, you are to proceed to Deck 4, did I say, or Deck 6?
6.
Deck 6. Deck 6, where are you, Nova?
Computer cover.
Computer control. Proceed with alacrity, Doctor.
On my way, and I'll start heading as quickly as I can to computer control.
Okay.
And while I'm waiting on support, I'll just try and narrow it down to, confirm the suspicions of which one of the 3 it is.
Okay. Well, seeing as you had a very successful check to try and locate the rogue emotion patterns, it doesn't take you long to realize that it's the Vulcan. And you notice he has got a datapad with him that he has essentially plugged into the terminal. He's essentially downloading data, by the looks of it. Or he's loading data from the console onto his datapad. It doesn't take long for Bertram to arrive. Andrews and Natik and Bravo are currently occupied with taking people to sickbay, but luckily that means that the Romulan Centurions that you've got tailing you are going that way too.
I never rescued my girl.
Let's just assume you did.
Oh, but complications!
Yeah, let's just assume you did, timing being the issue more than anything else. So.
Fine. So I'm going to point out to Bertram which one of the three it is. I think Bertram has incapacitating drugs.
Potentially.
Yeah, I'm gonna prepare something. I'm
his
also
med
keep. Yep, got my med kit and my hyperspray and my trusty laser scalpel.
So you can carve your initials in his flesh.
Just creep up behind him and then just.
Once
Go on,
he's
John.
ready, I'll go in and create a distraction, I guess.
I'm keeping the comms open just in case, like, if I go down, then at least people know what the hell's going on. Just checking as I got there, Nova said it was the Vulcan who is basically the one she sort of sonically detected.
Correct.
Okie dokie. Right, I head into computer core.
Well, you're already out there to confer with Nova to do it, so yeah.
Oh,
You make your way to the
Okay.
computer core, you find yourself at the door to the computer core where Nova is still in her EVA suit
okay.
and is about to create a distraction. Name your distraction, Sean.
Banging on the window after we let in.
Well, I'm basically in an EVA suit, so I look completely out of place, so I'm literally just going to march into this room and be like, I've been sent down to oversee this reconstruction of the computer core, Lieutenant Nova Operations. I took the long way.
Okay, so that does draw everybody's attention, including the Vulcan, who then looks from Nova to the door and looks back over his shoulder at the commotion that's going on. And from Bertram's from Bertram's perspective, the Vulcan suddenly looks like he's thinking very hard about the layout of this room. And that's when he steps away from the console and starts heading towards the door on the opposite side of the computer core from where you are. And he just calmly walks out of the room.
Okie dokie. I'll communicate to basically the direction he's going, and to everyone on the comms, and I shall start following.
Okay, so you lose only seconds in, trying to hastily skip across the room without anybody noticing, and also leaving that message. Nova, of course, being one of those who receives that message, is able to respond however she likes. So is Nova continuing the distraction, or is she going with Bertram?
I think probably going with Bertram.
Okay. Andrews and Bravo and Natik are going to be a bit behind in being able to do much because they have to physically deliver their charges to sickbay and then make a go for Deck 6. So this means they're going to be a bit...
Potential action from engineering.
Potential action from engineering? Yeah, what do you want to do?
I want to enter the prefix code.
Okay, and what would you like to do once you've entered the prefix code?
Effectively hand over control of the ship's functions to Cavell.
Right.
So that even if the computer core is breached, this ship ain't going nowhere.
Alright then, cool. Yeah, so you take the time to set up connection. Yeah, so both Cavell and Edwards can confirm that that you received the prefix codes, which means that you can enter them into your main computer and you've got remote access to the Nightingale, essentially. Or its core command, its core command functions. Which
will inform Captain Cool, just so that he's in the loop.
Okay, yep. He just nods. He's obviously very... Captain Akul is very tense. He looks like he's just waiting for what's going to happen. Meanwhile, Bertram and Nova are a bit behind, but you're following basically the direction you saw the Vulcan go into. He seems to be winding his way through the various corridors, past a couple of repair teams. Seems to be heading towards the corridors that connect to the... going towards the outer part of the ship. As in, he's going towards the rooms that are closest to the outer hull of the ship. And when you eventually catch up with him as you round a corner, you see him kneeling down in front of a power conduit, and he's just putting the panel back on again. And he stands up.
Okay.
What would you like
So
to do?
Does he stand up and is he looking at us as we approach? I think he knows with it.
Yeah, he does turn. May I help you?
Okey-dokey. Is there any injuries around here?
No. In fact, the place is
Okay,
kind of
no.
clear of people in general.
No, sorry, that was me asking him. That's not Gareth asking.
Oh, sorry.
It's, any injuries around here? We've got an injury report.
I'm afraid your injury report was in error. I was sent here in order to do some repairs on the conduit. There have been no injuries needed here, Doctor.
Fine, okay.
May I check
This
your
communication.
data pad just to see where you're up to with repairs?
As he's doing that, Bertram is basically walking, trying to make like he's just sort of like impatiently walking away, trying to find where this damn injury is to try and get on the other side of him.
Right, okay. Nova asks the question. The Telek pats himself down and goes, I must have left the data pad when I exited the computer control room.
And how are you monitoring your repairs of the ship?
Say that again, Sean. You kind of broke up for me there.
How are you monitoring your repairs you were just performing?
I am monitoring them very well, thank you. I am a Vulcan. I have a very good memory. Oh, wait. You're the Betazoid, aren't you?
Jim, yep.
Which means that you know that I don't have the same level of emotional control as a Vulcan.
I try hitting him with
Damn
that
it.
thingamajig.
Okay, so you try and hit him with a
jump on him
thingamajig.
at that point.
Yeah, that the knockout thing saying that I prepared on the way up.
Well, yes. Sadly for you, Romulans have an advantage. It's called paranoid.
Okay.
It's actually there on their character sheets. I'm not lying.
No, that's fair.
There is a character trait for Romulan, a racial trait for Romulans called paranoid, which means that they have a higher alertness for when things are about to go wrong and they're involved. Which means that he hears Bertram as he comes behind and grabs his hand as he's trying to hit the hyperspray, which of course gives Nova time to barrel into the both of them and everyone goes sprawling to the ground. As you do all barrel to the ground, something happens because you can actually hear an audible kind of beeping sound from something on Telek's person. Obviously a device on his person that you can't quite see because you're all tussling. And it's at that point that he... Let me see, there's two of you. One of you's got a certain acrobatic fighting style, but he's a Romulan, which means he is physically strong. I am going to use a little thing on my own PC here, a little dice roller out. Let's see. There's two
It's the
of you.
battle of the nerds now.
It is the battle of the nerds. Except one of them is actually trained in acrobatic fighting. And the other one's there just straining to inject this guy with a knockout solution.
Since when did Bertram take up acrobatic fighting?
I'm not talking about Bertram, I'm talking about Nova!
Hang on, wait a minute. I could act.
Lady of
Hang
the
on, wait.
parkour combat.
Wait.
Yeah, it's basically that.
It's traits, isn't it? I can't edit his traits. Damn it! Edit his skill.
quickly edit his skills, edit his focuses. Suddenly, Bertram goes from an award-winning botanist doctor to suddenly being an MMA fighter.
And a one-woman gymnast.
I used my biology skill to work out exactly where best to hit you.
Well, yeah. Unfortunately, Bertram's not up on Romulan physiology all that much. So, eventually, the hypospray goes clattering somewhere as Telek manages to squeeze Bertram's wrist enough that it hurts. So Bertram just loses tendon control on his hand, and the hypospray goes rolling. This does mean that Bertram is forced to use his one other free hand to prise the guy's hand off of him. Yep. Nova is in an EVA suit, which makes her pretty heavy, which means that when the Romulan uses his other hand to swing Bertram over, Bertram is more hurt than Nova.
Yep.
But then Telek looks up, gets to his feet just as you guys are about to, but then realizes there's something beeping on his person, at which point he visibly deflates and goes, "Oh, really?" And then there's an explosion. Now, luckily for you guys, one of you's in an EVA suit, and one of you has just been hurled across the room. As the explosion goes off, it's from the conduit that you saw him closing the lid to. And that means that the conduit detonates quite violently, and it actually causes a hull breach. And as such, the air starts getting sucked out of the corridor. Now, immediately, a force field goes down, but Bertram and Nova are on the wrong side of it. Fortunately for one of you, Nova's EVA suit engages its safety protocol and snaps the helmet down. Telek, however, gets sucked out into space. There's sorry, what was that, Sean?
I was going to say, is he close enough to make a grab for and offer an emergency system? Like, is there emergency breathing apparatus on this thing?
Yeah, I can go for that. Bertram is close enough for Nova to grab, and you know you've got magnetic boots, so you can basically hold on for the two of you. There's still technically air, but the air is being sucked out of the room, and yeah, there should be an emergency secondary breathing hose for Bertram. Although Bertram's going to get rather uncomfortable very quickly if he's not gotten out of this situation. Thankfully, it doesn't take long for all the atmosphere to be sucked out, but it does mean that a team has to get down to that area quickly and need to sort you guys out.
It's a good thing that we got secondary systems back up and line.
Yes, indeed. I was thinking just that very thing.
Could I also steal Bertram's comm badge and throw it after Telek?
Sure.
Trying to get Navis to beam in inverted commas Bertram up.
Or...
Yeah.
Beam the body out? Sure.
Yeah.
Cool. So, it takes a couple of minutes before somebody arrives to help out Nova and Bertram. No doubt some of those are going to be Andrews, Bravo, and Natik. Apparently, who are all wearing EVA suits anyway. So I've been told. It's just Bertram that didn't get the memo.
No, I believe the message I got was report to computer call with alacrity.
Anywho's, a team turns up in environmental suits, which means that they can disengage the emergency force field that is separating Nova and Bertram from everyone else. As soon as Bertram and Nova are on the right side of the force field, it's re-engaged. So atmosphere in that area is brought back online, and Bertram is able to breathe without the assistance of Nova's EVA suit's secondary air supply. Bertram, though, is very cold from the fact that he's been exposed to the vacuum of space.
He needs the warmth of his moss.
How much stress do I take?
Not enough to give you a serious injury, but it was a close thing. Like, you know,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to spend some time being gradually warmed up.
Yeah.
Because parts of any moisture on the outer parts of Bertram's skin would have started to freeze.
Technically, would have potentially been okay because the ship is still heated.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a weird one because he didn't actually go physically out of the ship. But yeah, the vacuum of space would have caused some of his blood vessels to start to constrict as well.
But Bertram, being a doc, he recognises all the symptoms of exposure to vacuum. So it's like, I just need to lie down in a hot tub and I'll be fine. Thankfully.
I can go later. I have to provide a patch with my trusty all-purpose hypo spray to keep me going until I have a time to do that. I also have a laser scalpel, though that doesn't help.
Well, the laser can warm you up, surely.
So,
basically, Bertram's going to ask, did the Navis manage to get Gareth out as he fell out of the ship?
right. So, what you learn happens as you get an appraisal 5 minutes after being rescued. According to the guys on the bridge of the Nightingale, who are in contact as well with the Navis, as soon as that explosion went off and Peeps got sucked into space, the Romulans, the Romulan Warbird, cloaked and is presumed to have left. It takes a bit of time to confirm this, but sensor sweeps from the Navis confirm that there are no subspace anomalies that would, in the area, that would suggest the presence of a cloaked Romulan Warbird. You asked a question, Webby.
Did our 5 compadres disappear as
They
well?
did. They were beamed off. Now, when you go to investigate the computer core to find out what was left behind, you do find the data pad that Telek was interfacing with the primary computer core with. It seems that he was downloading data from the computer core, but the lockdown hadn't been lifted, therefore he was downloading still encrypted data. But you interrupted him before he could...
Junk.
What was that, sorry?
Just downloading junk.
Yeah.
It's recipes for Swedish meatballs over and over again.
Give them 10 years, they might get something out of it.
Well, exactly.
Fine for now.
So it seems evident that Telek was trying to get something.
Does it look like anything got transmitted? Like, do we need to report this as a breach?
It looks like nothing did manage to get transmitted, so it looks like you interrupted him just in time. What he was planning to do with the conduit, you don't know, but it seems like in the tussle you had with him, you may have activated accidentally whatever explosive device he'd planted in the conduit for whatever reason. But when you confer with the Navis, who will go on Nova's recommendation of trying to scan the area for Bertram's comm badge, which they do find, they find no evidence of Telek's body anywhere in space. And hang on, let's think. I've forgotten John's character's name. Natala, thank you. God, I keep confusing Nova and Natala, and now Natala's not active as much. I forgot who Natala was. Being on the Navis sensors as she does, she looks over the sensor logs and can confirm there was some kind of energy beam directed at a point in space not long after the explosion. And the beam did target somewhere near to where Bertram's comm badge was. So, there appears to be no more the Romulans have gone quiet. In fact, it seems they're not even there anymore. So repairs go ahead with the Nightingale, and eventually, thanks to Vibers and the other engineering teams aboard, you're able to get all the systems back online.
I'd recommend that the Navis begins towing it while repairs are ongoing.
Yeah.
Is that we just start getting out there as quickly as possible and the transmission is relayed back to Starfleet that there was a Romulan infiltrator on board the Navis, not on board the Nightingale.
Okay. So, yes, they relay that to Starfleet, and it's done cautiously at first. The Navis kind of creeps in across the neutral zone, as if, checking to see if anyone else is going to stop them. So it's a very tense 10 minutes while the Navis slowly comes up towards the Nightingale, latches on a tractor beam, and then tows it across to the other side of the neutral zone. And there's that very tense couple of moments where you wonder if there's going to be a sudden surprise attack, that the Romulans decide that they do want the Nightingale after all, or they want to use the excuse of the Navis crossing over to spark a conflict. But no, thankfully, nothing happens. And the Navis manages to successfully tow the Nightingale away. So, yes, repairs are made kind of in transit as the Navis is towing the Nightingale away. And so, we're left with the aftermath.
On the journey back, Matt,
Yep.
is that Andrews would request from Captain Nicole that she remains on board the Nightingale to basically be there as support for the commander.
Yeah.
As she commands the vessel, so that she's there to offer advice and assistance.
Yeah, and Captain Nicole agrees. That's fine with him. Captain Nicole does admit that for a moment there he was looking forward to a showdown with the Romulans, because he really wanted to see what the Navis could do.
It
But
wouldn't have been a showdown, so it would have been a slaughter for the Romulans. We'd be picking Romulans off of the bow for months.
scraping him off the windshield.
Just like blow it out, then drive through the wreckage to make sure there's no survivors.
I'm counting 4 life signs in space. Caval.
Bonk! 3 survivors, Captain.
I'll just regale him with the tale of Bertram fighting the Romulan.
Yes!
Give him that enjoyment.
Bertram got some action in.
Oh my.
By
Bertram,
that
you
you mean
dirty
someone
man.
grabbed his wrist?
That's not how Nova tells it. Actually, it is.
You
So
wrestled
exactly
him
how
to
it
the
happens.
floor and put him into the ankle lock.
And it was so close because otherwise his badge would not have gone out into space.
He needs to work on his own finisher, the Bertram.
Okay, that gets a clap.
Thank you.
Needless to say, Vibers stays on board the Nightingale because no one's leaving a job half done.
No!
When you interview
And
the crew...
This
Sorry, go on.
engineering crew needs to get a kick up the arse.
Well, to be fair to the
Often
engineering
we're
crew,
dead.
they are severely depleted. So,
It's amazing how quick I can retrain these science officers.
Yeah.
Especially with a well-placed boot.
Yeah,
Nice.
Andrews is going to kind of like, while she's on the deck, is kind of going to be subtly testing how good Court is as a security officer. We're like, I want him, I want him, I want him, I want him.
Well, he's basically a big slab of almost stone, you know.
I know, that's why I want him.
He's basically a moving wall. So, yeah. He does get a bit curious as to why he keeps getting asked all these security-based questions, you know, a bit trivia, it's pop quiz. If there was a hostage situation and there was only one way out, what would you do?
To be honest, I think as much as I want him on the Navis, is that he is a worthwhile addition to the crew of the Nightingale.
The Nightingale. Well, considering the amount of damage the Nightingale took, it's probably going to be laid up in in repairs for a while, so you never know. And the Nightingale's first officer, being as new to the command role as she was, is seriously considering taking a step back from command for a bit after all that stress.
Yeah, Andrews would advise against it and say that learn from the incident. You managed the situation to the best of your abilities and performed admirably for the fact that you are so new into the role.
Nice. And she will take that compliment, and who knows? You might very well see her again. What you do learn from the crew about Telek is that apparently he was an archaeological major, and he was apparently posted to the ship because he just he was just a science crew member. The fact that it turns out that he was some kind of spy for the Romulans, well, it seems that obvious at this point now that that was his cover story. But pretty much everyone on the crew never assumed that anything about him, since he was until the actual attack by the Romulans with the whole business with crossing the neutral zone. Very few outside of the science labs, the archaeological department at that, even had much contact with Telek, so which probably explains why he managed to infiltrate it so well. As for what he got away with, you managed to make sure he got away with virtually nothing. In fact, pretty much nothing. He had maybe a comm badge to his name, and maybe not even that by the end of it. So, you've probably managed to stop a rather severe security breach. And even if Telek is alive, and maybe if the Romulans can pull something from his brain, by the time it gets back to Romulan Central Command, whatever he managed to memorize or see, then by the time you guys get back to Starfleet, you will have alerted them of the breach, and any and all information that the Romulans get will have been out of date and useless. So well done in that regard. So finally, you managed to claw your way back to Narendra Station, with the Nightingale still rather busted up in tow, where she'll receive some rudimentary repairs at Narendra Station before it's taken away for a proper bit of maintenance at one of the shipyards. So, it's basically time to say goodbye to Captain Akul when you finally dock at Narendra Station.
Aww. I like a cool.
So,
so cool.
Akul presents himself before the command crew of the Navis in Transporter Room 1, which is obviously got Latude behind the controls. Well, Commanders, Lieutenants, I must say that was rather entertaining. And it was enlightening to be in the presence of so many talented Starfleet officers. I see why your captain talked about you so much now. It was an honor for me to be posted as captain to the Navis. Hopefully I'll get the chance again. Unfortunately, the situation with our two governments is not the best. This may be a one and done. However, I like to think that I arrived here as a temporary captain. I hope that we can at least depart as friends, comrades.
On behalf of the senior bridge crew, I would say that you were already considered a friend, Captain, and your presence on the Navis was greatly received, and I hope that we may serve continually in the future. Perhaps on an opposite exchange is whether we would be permitted to assist in operations on a Klingon vessel. I'm sure Lieutenant Vazanan would be eager to get his hands on the control of a bird of prey again.
Well, If we ever have you aboard the Mapui, it is a Kavut-class battlecruiser rather than a Burrell bird of prey, so something larger than a bird of prey. I'd be very interested to see how you would handle such a ship, Lieutenant Thazadan.
With great power comes great responsibility.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, was our third and final cross-franchise quote of the night. My thanks to you all. Hopefully we shall meet, but not in battle. And
A pleasure, sir.
Captain Akul...
Assuming our parting gesture is a human and a Klingon salute as he's getting on the pad.
Captain Akul looks over at Lechude, gives him a nod. Lechude gives him a nod as well. Punches in a set of coordinates. And Captain Akul is beamed off of the Navis. And you're left pretty much to whatever comes next. So yes, this marks the end of this little episode. Now, needless to say, the crew of the Navis are still without their captain, so they're going back on temporary easy duties after this. But Admiral Hebert is extremely relieved to discover that you managed to avert a potentially disastrous situation. And it remains to be seen what the Romulans make of all this. Technically, they still have the advantage of a Federation vessel did cross over into space, but that's now going to conflict with your report.
Yeah.
But I'm sure the Romulans could find something to harp on about in regards to that.
Well, we could always point out that, you know, a murder of a Starfleet captain is something rather serious.
Prove that they ever had an agent on there when we have no physical evidence left, unless there's internal cameras.
And even then, what do those show?
True.
So, yes, it was a victory, but as with anything involving the Romulans, there's probably going to be something that comes of this, but as far as that goes, we'll just have to wait to find out. So, before we end things up here, was there anything anybody wanted to ask, wanted to say, wanted to do?
I think some more comms would be going out to see if we could try and hunt down Captain Ducasse. Is to actually reach out to Admiral Ducasse now.
Aha, right. Yeah.
I might have a personal comm code somewhere.
Indeed, yes. Vibers does have a line to Admiral Ducasse. Okay. I can resolve that now, actually, because as it happens, after tonight, there's going to be a break of 2 weeks, with the third week being a very solid maybe, because it depends entirely on when my wife gets back and whether or not the plane was on time and stuff like that. So definitely a break of 2 weeks following this one. The third week after that, yeah, it's still a bit up in the air. So I can resolve that little question, that little issue now. Contacting Admiral Ducasse, you're rather... Vibers is rather interested to learn that Admiral Ducasse apparently is currently unavailable.
On both his private and his normal code.
Now, on his private code, you get his housekeeper. Because, as I've just remembered, Vibers actually does have a very personal link to Admiral Ducasse. So, when you try his private number, you do get Admiral Ducasse's housekeeper, as it were. So is there anything specific you want to ask the housekeeper?
Well, the first thing to ask the housekeeper is, has Has the Admiral forwarded any contact addresses recently, or do you know when he'd be available?
So the woman, the middle-aged human woman on the other comm, is basically an assistant that the Admiral has had throughout most of his senior career. So you've seen her before. You know her quite well.
Yep. In case talking to her by name as expected.
So, we haven't invented a name for her yet, so we'll come up with that separately at some other point. But for the sake of expediency of this summary, you get that. She says nothing unusual, unless, of course, you count the fact that his niece turned up out of nowhere. It was rather unusual to see Adriana out of uniform, but there we are.
Yeah.
They didn't talk for long, but then Adriana left and the Admiral went back to his normal duties, but then told the housekeeper that he'd be away for a little bit with duties, which she accepted, because he does travel a lot with his being an Admiral and all, and hasn't seen him since. So, make of that what you will.
Okay, if you hear anything from the Admiral, could you mention that Vibers was in contact? He needs a forwarding address for this year's memorial.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Yep, she accepts that. And says that she will leave him a message and try and get him to get back to you as soon as possible.
Oh, old shipmate. Obviously, I want to send in a drink along for some.
So I suppose the question becomes now: does Vibers relay on what he's just learned?
I will corner Andrews and Bertram.
Uh-huh.
Because since the Tannenbaum incident, I make sure we cover that end of things.
Okay.
Then if it turns Andrews goes rogue, we got backup. So we've got.
Snaps and goes finally. It's like I'm tired of dead man's boots.
And we don't trust changeling.
No. I don't want to start a panic. I don't want to start a panic. I'm keeping it to command staff and medical, just in case we have to override us all going bonkers. So our captain has been seen about insert number of days ago here.
It's more like weeks.
Yep. And the Admiral's missing 2.
What was disappearing?
Okay. Anything else anybody else wants to suggest they want to do before we wrap things up? No? Okie dokie.
I've invented my new type of moss already, so...
Yeah, well, your project is completed, as has Nova's, so those will be actually having their own space allocated on the Navis now, so those will always be available as resources to draw upon.
High religion.
Cool. Well, in that case, I know we're about 5-6 minutes early, but because of the nature of the malfunction my computer had and whatnot, I don't want to push things too much further. So, yeah. Basically, we've come to the end, so there's not going to be anything for another 2 weeks. For the next 2 Tuesdays, and the Tuesday following those will consider being still on. And hopefully by then I'll have found the situation that's troubling my PC and we'll have resolved it. Thank you everyone who came to watch. Apologies for it being split into 2 parts, but there we go, technology, eh? And hopefully those who took part enjoyed it, even though it was a bit messed up towards the middle and the end.
Yep.
And
Had fun.
yeah.
Ow,
And we
let go
stop there.
off my wrist.
So yeah, I will deal with reputation and milestones as usual, probably on the morrow, to wrap up the all administrative stuff. So thank you everybody who watched. Again, apologies for the stop-start nature of it and the fact that it's a bit choppy. Hopefully we'll get to the bottom of that little mystery. But that's for mundanity. As far as Star Trek goes, we'll see what happens in regards to the crew of the Navis and their missing captain in 3 weeks' time, hopefully. So thanks everybody for tuning in. This has been myself, Matt, and the guys of the USS Navis, signing off for now. Bye-bye.